What is up, Dingles Crypto? So we are going to be diving in depth in the weeds of the graph. We're going to understand what it does, where it's implemented among the Web3 infrastructure, the utility of the token, and the price prediction is at the end. So make sure you stay tuned. But the reason why I'm bringing this up today and not a couple weeks ago when the price was booming is exactly that reason why is because now is the time to possibly start building a position in the graph because it is essential infrastructure for the success of Web 3.0. And if you don't understand Web 3.0, we're going to get in that today as well. So stay tuned and you're going to learn a lot today because I know I learned a lot researching this. So make sure you stay tuned and we're going to learn together. So let's start off with just kind of the bottom line up front and say goodbye to custom servers. Before the graph, teams had to develop and operate proprietary indexing servers. This required significant engineering and hardware resources and broke the important security properties required for decentralization. So in Web 2.0, these custom servers are centralized and are ran by a central server. Like Amazon has a big server, Google has a big server, and Microsoft has a big server. All these big companies are controlling these servers, which a lot of people use, and that is centralized. So this is hopefully decentralizing that process. And let's get into, okay, so we're going to quickly look at their Explorer, and I'm kind of just showing you this to shock the system because I'm sure when I looked at this, I didn't understand it right off the bat, but hopefully by the end, you kind of understand it a little bit better. So these are all subgraphs, right? And when I think of subgraphs, for me, not a coder, I'm not a coder. So for me, the best way to vision it is a subgraph is like a live updated Excel sheet with live updated data from each of these protocols, right? So Uniswap V2, obviously they have a lot of data. Every transaction that happens across Uniswap, every time you add liquidity to a pool, a lot of data, right? And this is the graph helps query that data and index it for use by other developers to develop different dApps to use that information, that data, to utilize it in other dApps, right? So that is why the graph is essential infrastructure for the success of Web3 because it expedites the building process of other decentralized applications. So now we're going to listen quickly to clips of this very awesome video by Yaniv Tal. It's a co-founder of the graph, and we're just going to listen it, and it's just like 4 clips, but this is Web 2.0, and he's going to briefly discuss the problems with it. I might pause it and explain a little bit, but let's listen up here.
Can generally scale to meet demand, and there are generally a few other services over here, all of this running in the cloud. There are a few problems. First problem, any of these components can go down either on purpose or on accident. You really have to trust these companies to continue to exist and to operate these servers correctly. If the company goes out of business, gets acquired, if the product gets shut down, or they just decide to change product directions, you, the user, are out of luck.
No, there you go, centralized servers.
Second problem, these interfaces change all the time. If the database table changes, the server can break. If the server code changes, the REST API can break. Since there's nothing that guarantees that there are no breaking changes, making software updates requires really careful coordination, and this makes software maintenance difficult and costly.
So this is kind of just another result of centralized servers and not immutable data, right? So once data is confirmed on the blockchain, it's immutable and it can never change, right? So that's, and on centralized servers, a person can go in there and change any data from throughout history, and it would kind of mess up all the software built relying on that data.
Third problem, whoever operates this infrastructure has all the power. If they want to change a record, they can drop into the database, done. If they want to take your private information and sell it to the highest bidder, done. If they want to wait till a lot of people are using the app and then go in and change the rules on them, that's easy. No one can stop them from doing whatever they want.
Another result of centralized servers, right? So like LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft, and Microsoft now owns LinkedIn, creating a bigger monopoly, and now they can change LinkedIn has such a high network effect, like LinkedIn, if you don't know it, it's just a business social media, and it has such a network effect that now the owner can go back and change the rules, and nobody can really do anything about that. But now we're going to learn about Web 3.0 and how that solves the problems just stated. So let's listen quickly.
We need a platform that gives developers and users guarantees. This platform needs to be built with protocols that have these properties. They need to be open. That means that anybody can use them without having access restricted by gatekeepers. In most cases, this also means market-based pricing. Efficient marketplaces ensure that users are getting a competitive service at the lowest price. Now, some people might want these protocols to be free. The problem is we can't guarantee these other properties like stability without a way to cover the cost. If we want this infrastructure to be sustainable and we don't want to create perverse incentives, then payment needs to be built in. It needs to be secure. In most cases, that means Byzantine fault tolerant or roughly resilient to malicious actors. If we want this infrastructure to be open, then we have to assume that malicious actors are also going to show up. And so we need to be resilient and secure. Stable. No breaking changes. This means that software that works today should continue to run as long as there are users for that software. In order to build software that's stable, it needs to be built on immutable data and deterministic computations. And that turns out to be key.
What he just said is key. Deterministic computations and immutable data are key, and that's exactly what blockchain provides, and that's why Web 3.0 is superior to Web 2.0.
And finally, verifiable. That means even if I don't trust the server, I can check for myself that the service was provided correctly and that the properties I care about were upheld. All of these properties together are required to fix the problems I described. These are the properties that give us a stable foundation.
There you go, stable foundation, and this is what we're going to look at right now, and this is kind of the infrastructure that's getting built out right now for Web 3.0, and I think this is a very important graph and little graphic to understand because it kind of helps conceptualize Web 3.0 and what's getting built and where the graph protocol comes into play in the Web3 infrastructure. So this bottom layer, blockchain storage, indexing, location, is kind of the infrastructure protocols. They require low computation to be efficient, and they are very important. And basically, every decentralized application is built with some type of indexing data off of these infrastructure protocols, right? So. And then logical protocols are kind of the next layer. So identity, governance, financial primitive, marketplace like governance is Aragon. A lot of protocols and dApps are building off of Aragon to be a decentralized governed protocol. Financial primitives like Uniswap and MakerDAO. A lot of financial protocols are using data from these financial primitives to build off of and create their own little niche market aside from the logical protocol of this financial primitive, right? So in marketplaces, right? So like Rarible and OpenSeas, like, so you can query data from these logical protocols, and logical protocols basically solves a coordination problem and they're module building blocks. So these module building blocks of all these are module building blocks that a lot of dApps want to build off of. And the graph helps query data from these and helps developers make dApps off of these logical protocols and infrastructure protocols. So let's go on to what exactly the graph does in his own words. I think he explains it well, and I will try my best to help explain it as well.
Available until the graph. Let's take a look at how it works. You start by defining something we call a subgraph. And the subgraph defines what data sources you want to listen to, how you want to transform that data, and what schema you want to use to query that data.
So there you go. He just explained in his own words what a subgraph is. It's basically what information and data you want to query and what schema you want to use, and how you want to implement that data. And now he's going to talk about how the graph works after querying the data that you want to obtain.
Once you've built that subgraph, you deploy it to a graph node, and that node starts subscribing to the underlying data sources When an event is triggered, it processes that data in a WASM VM, and that allows computations to be fast and deterministic.
So a WASM VM is just a virtual machine that helps live update the subgraph. So the subgraph is some type of Excel sheet that I like to think about that's updated live based off of current events that are taking place on the protocols that you subscribe your subgraph to. I hope that it makes sense, and I hope that helps you understand it more. So let's go back to the Explorer. So the Explorer, and now I click Uniswap v2. This is a Uniswap v2 subgraph, right? And now you can go down, and this is kind of the playground where you can play around and create your own subgraph for your D app. And you literally can just type in and get data. I'm not a coder, so I don't really know how to implement this, but this is literally the best thing for developers to quickly access live data from the blockchain of any type of. So you can literally transaction count, pair count. You can get volume, total liquidity, USD, total liquidity, ETH, like just random data points that you can access and implement into your decentralized application. So this will help. Like one thing he says, let's see if he says it right here. If not, I will say it at the end. But this is kind of the summary that he gives. Very good and kind of motivational, guys, because this is something so new and so awesome and so world-changing, revolutionary, right? So let's listen up.
The original vision for the graph was really simple. We wanted to create this experience where developers could come and, with just a few keystrokes, find all of the data that they want to pull into their dApps. We're launching our hosted service today with 7 great protocols. And we're going to keep adding more data and more data. And when we launch a decentralized network, all of this data is going to be available on a network that's open, stable, secure, and verifiable. Together, we can build a solid foundation for software, a new platform that allows us to build farther and higher than ever before. And when we do, it will change how humans cooperate and organize and create economic opportunity for everyone in this global connected world. On a personal
farther and higher than ever before, and with a very, very strong foundation, which is Ethereum and Polkadot and Chainlink and the graph. So this is what I say when I say essential infrastructure, because literally Web 3.0 will be built off these protocols. So let's get into my price prediction. But first, I want to just kind of just conceptualize this even farther and hopefully solidify your knowledge about the graph in Web3. So nerds are overriding this is Yaniv's Tal Twitter. Very good tweets if you want to go follow him. Nerds are overriding institutions, and I enjoy every second of it. First, financial institutions. Later, we go after governments by creating parallel governing bodies that serves the people directly. Once we have the funds and the infrastructure, it's just a question of execution. And he's retweeting a Bloomberg terminal costs $2K a month, and crypto Twitter is free. But let me kind of conceptualize this a little bit for you. Bloomberg is literally just an indexing server of information, and they're charging $2K a month. And that's kind of just one thing that I'm sure Yaniv Tal retweeted this because he sees that and he understands the potential that graph can revolutionize this aspect. And that is the whole purpose of it. So let's get into the price prediction. First, shoot me a sub and like if this provided value to you, and make sure you stay tuned because I try my best to put out the best content I can, and it sometimes takes a while, so please subscribe. The graph price prediction, let's go through. Essential infrastructure, I cannot say that enough. If Web 3.0 succeeds, which I do believe it does and will, because it's hard to stop innovation, and if something in a capitalist society, if something is better, it will succeed for the most part, as long as it doesn't have negative consequences. So it's a first mover. So the graph is a first mover in querying and indexing data on the blockchain in such a manner. And I do think this is a very important aspect in crypto because Bitcoin is not the best, but it's the first mover. Ethereum is not the best, but it's the first mover. And obviously those both have succeeded. So let's talk about the value of the graph token. I only talk about intrinsic utility and intrinsic value. So the value derived from the network effect, similar to chain link. So the only value the graph token really holds is securing the network of curing data. And obviously, the more network effect and the more adoption that the graph has, obviously the value of the token should be derived from the value that it secures. And that's kind of the whole sense of Web 3.0 is kind of your token's value should be derived from the amount that it secures, especially if you're a proof of stake token. So let's go into what I believe will happen. $5 to $10 billion market cap 2021, 2022. I do believe it should be a top 10 token in the future, because unless there's some updates in the future that changes my mind. But as of right now, it's essential infrastructure, and what my goal is to see essential infrastructure on top of the market cap, because it should be that way. So anyway, that is all for today. If you want to subscribe or join the Discord channel server, it's in my bio, as well as please like and subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you, and dingle dingle.